Hey guys, Brockshield here. This time I wanted to bring you two parts to this video, starting off with a more detailed gear upgrade of where I'm at and what I want to get moving forwards. Let's start with the Judgement Crown. So as we go along here, I would like to explain why I've chosen the gear I have for the AoE style of pulling. Let's start with the fact that for Paladins, our spell power via Consecrate is our primary form of damage through all of our AoE pulls. So when I initially started this style of pulling, I used to think that the Thorns items like Razor Gauntlets, Naggle Ring, Demon Forged Breastplate, etc., those proc items would be the most efficient way of farming. What I realized was for two reasons this was incorrect. Starting with the fact that not only do these proc items provide less base stats, for example, if you look at Razor Gauntlets versus the Lawbringer Gauntlets, it's no comparison. The stats here are so much better, and as you get to the higher level of tiers, it's that much more incomparable. The second reason that these items are better here, that I'm showing you that I'm using, are because of their damage spell power. So the way Consecrate works in Classic WoW is, for every 24 points of spell power, your Consecrate damage ticks up by 1. So Consecrate base ticks for 48 for each Paladin's, each tick of Consecrate is 48 damage. Right now, for me, it's 60. So that means my spell power is 240 plus over the base stats. Over 240, excuse me. 12 times 24 would be greater than that. It would be 288, if my math is correct. Anyways, if we look here at Judgement Crown, we get 32 spell power here, along with all the stats. Thus, Judgement Crown will be my best in slot for AoE farming for the next year plus of Classic WoW. Moving forwards here, the Choker of Enlightenment. This item here is not the best in slot item I can get. For me, in terms of what I could find right now in Molten Core on the GDKP runs, or if I'm fortunate on an OS roll in BWL, the Choker of the Fire Lord is better. Ideally, you're looking for as much damage spell power as possible, and so that's what I would be going for. As such, the stats here are strong enough that this 18 spell power is quite a bit. In terms of the enchants I'll be going for, I will go with the ZG enchants for all three slots. Although the ZG enchants for the head and legs do not have a damage spell power option, for my style of pulling, the plus 10 stam and plus 10 defense on the head and legs items is tremendous, so I will be pushing for that as well to reach Exalted. Following that, the Judgment Spalders, same reasoning. Tier 2 is essentially a no-brainer for Paladins, and that's something that you're going to want to stack if you want this type of style of pulling. Following that, the Cloak of the Broodlord. This was one of the OS roll items I got in one of my previous videos. An excellent item for this style of pulling, as it has great base stats and tremendous damage spell power for what I could get at this point in time. Judgement Breastplate, same thing, no brainer. You see the enchant here is not plus 4 to stats, but rather absorption. A 5% proc is a tremendous proc rate in these AoE style of pulls. The absorption enchant works by reducing damage by 25% at the 5% proc, which procs all the time and is a tremendous value add over any other enchant you can get on the chest. Next, the Judgment Bindings, same reasoning. You're going to want to go with the T2 for spell power. Now, I chose 7 Intellect over the Healing because I felt that the Intellect would increase my mana pool, and the last, a very frustrating feeling you get sometimes is as you push the limits in higher dungeons, you're just out of mana at the very end and you die. So I preferred that over the Healing, because worst case scenario, I would bring Daenerys along to heal with me and rely on his healing after I bubbled. Next, the Azure Song Mage Blade. This would not be the best item I would take. Instead, I would take the mace from BWL. We can find it here quickly. This mace here from Nefarian. Right here. With 84 damage and healing is the best I could get at this point in time. Unfortunately, there would be a lot of other healers and DPS who would need roll this item before me, so I didn't feel it was realistic that I could aim to get it. With that said, the Azure Song Mage Blade with plus 30 spell damage is a strong item and will probably be used by me for the next year in my carries. Following that, you've got the Skull Flame Shield. I use this in combination with some other items such as Force Reactive Disc. You see here I have 3 Force Reactive Discs, which allow me to keep one up at all times in the Cathedral pull of SM Cath without worrying that when one breaks I'm out of them. The way it works for me is I stack Skullflame Shield here, which you see has a lifesteal effect which procs quite a bit, along with my usage of Talisman of Ephemeral Power as we move to this item. So as I use the Talisman, it increases my damage and spell power by 175, which increases Consecration by 7 damage per tick, which is a tremendous amount over 15 seconds, and it also increases Skullflame Shield's lifesteal ability. So what happens for me is when I pop this ability, I leave Skullflame Shield on. And what it does is it essentially stalls my health for the duration of the trinket, because Skullflame's lifesteal is healing me for 500 to 700 at times. It's really that high. Because the base lifesteal I get now with all this gear is around 385, so with the trinket it goes up around 500 plus, which is a lot. So you can imagine every time it procs, I'm healing about an eighth of my health, so my health stays quite high for these runs. Next, I have Uther Strength. If you have seen my first video, I picked this trinket up way back when I first leveled 60. Fortunately or unfortunately, I haven't found a viable replacement for it. This 2% procs all the time in your pulls. So when I say all the time, I mean all the time. And so it's mitigated a lot of damage for me. One replacement I am looking for is the damage trinket from the Heart of Hakar turn-in from ZG. It works similar to Talisman of Ephemeral Power with more raw damage and more time for the trinket lasting its effect, but after each spellcast the spell power decreases, so there's pros and cons. Moving on, the only non-spell power slot that I may keep is Overlord Onyx's Band. The reason is because, just like Stylene's Scarab, the trinket in BWL, this increased block chance is tremendous after I switch to Force Reactive Disc once this trinket is done. Because with Force Reactive Disc, every single proc I get means that I'm churning out 25 damage on average to every mob around me, which is a lot of damage. So 2% more of that is actually worth more to me than the additional 18 spell power or whatever I might get on Consecration, which is not even necessarily 1 tick increase. Following that, Band of Servitude, just a traditional damage and spell power item. Tier 2, similarly damage and spell power. Note the speed enchant is a must-have, don't even try the runs without it. And then you see here Lawbringer, Leg Plates, Belt, and Gauntlets. These all need to be switched out with Tier 2 if I'm fortunate to get them in time, as I would prefer once again the damage and spell power. Though do note, you see here that I have the 5 set bonus already, which is essential for this type of pull as well to maximize it, as that is 47 more damage and spell power, so it really does add up. With that, now we'll be moving on to an SM Cath, where I show how it's possible to solo pull the dungeon. So here we are in SM Cath, this time with no Denarius, no group members, running solo for the entire courtyard. How is this possible? Well, we'll be able to achieve this run with no potions, no sapper, and no lay on hands because of a few reasons. One, let's start with the gear that we just went over. Those gear upgrades all help Brockshield to sustain and deal the damage out over the entirety of this pull. Secondly, some improvements in the route that I've found over time. So here you can see many power pullers have noticed this. They don't catch you on this waterfall. Instead, they have to path all the way across on this side, unfortunately for them. On the other side of the waterfall, that's not the case. But on this side it is, so you can use that time to get off one more heal instead of going all the way up on the waterfall. Next, the route is the same on this bottom part of the level, where we can grab every mob and head up to the top. On the top, we want to accomplish the same steps we've done in the past. Utilize this jump up here to put more distance between us and the pack, and on the other side, jump down and toss myself a heal. And the same thing goes between this jump up here. you can utilize the same jump idea here to give yourself a little bit of distance between the pack. And this jump down as well. So as we've rounded up almost all of the mobs, here's the breakdown of why this works. So first we'll follow the improvement strategy I may have mentioned in the past, where we bring them over here to this edge with Blessing of Protection instead of Divine Shield. This means that we still have our bubble, and we are utilizing Blessing of Protection this entire time, along with here you see the combination of Skullflame Shield plus, there you saw the chunks of healing come up, Skullflame Shield plus the Talisman of Ephemeral Power. Here you notice my health stalls or goes up for most of the time the talisman is up. Here was actually a bit down in terms of the procs of the healing. I've had runs where I use the talisman in combination with Skullflame and my health goes up, not down. So that's actually what's possible. Here you see I utilize the edge. My whole strategy here is before I switch to Forced Reactive Disc for the second part of the pull and cleanup, I want to wait for Divine Shield to come up. So because it was only about 30 seconds after I used the Blessing of Protection where I dropped down, it's not that long where here I can fight them again and then drop down once more. With Forced Reactive Disc, now you can see the sheer amount of damage. They're almost ready to be finished off here. But you don't want to take any chances when you're solo because you don't have a party or an ult to help you. So we're going to run back to the original corner that we had, and at that point we're going to AoE them down the rest of the way. So this is exactly why it's possible to do the courtyard solo. The cathedral I do not believe is possible, though I will try. The problem is the healers, and the fact as well that the abbots enrage, just like the myrmidons here, and I'm really not sure if I can bring them down completely by myself with no healing. Maybe with consumables, maybe, but even there I'm a bit skeptical, though I would be excited to test the boundaries of how far this style of power pulling could go. Here I utilized the Rune Cloth Bandage instead of tossing myself a heal, because at this point I wasn't sure if it could be done without needing this mana here at the end, though from what it indicates it would have, as only one mob was affected by the last consecration. That's it. SM Cath Courtyard done by a single Paladin with no potions, no sappers, and no lay on hands in 4 minutes and 3 seconds excluding the loot. So this is one of the best runs I've done. This is sustainable firstly, but also to see how far Brockshield has come has really been an incredible journey. I want to say thank you for watching the video. If you have enjoyed it, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as more videos will be coming out in the future. And I also want to say thank you to everybody in Elegance, as well as on the Bloodsail Buccaneer server. With that, light be with you all. Take care. Thanks again.